What's up guys, welcome to our time tutorial. In this tutorial we'll be learning how to create a digital clock or a digital watch. We'll be using JavaScript to create the animation and using CSS to style our watch. But before we start, let's start by looking at a working example of this exercise. So at the end of this video you will have created this watch, and I'll show you guys how easy it is to create such a wonderful watch. It'll take like 5 minutes or so. So we'll start with the bare bones of an HTML page. As you can see, we have style tags. Here we're going to put our style sheet in, and in this part we'll be in the script tags, we'll be putting our JavaScript. And yeah, let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is we need to enter a div container. Now in this container, this is where we're gonna insert our text for our clock. So let's enter static text as an example. So watch is going to be something like this. Let's save it, go to the browser. When we refresh, now this is what we have. Obviously this is not our watch yet, we just wanted to see where we are. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to enter an ID attribute for our div tags so that we can have access to them. We're going to call it watch. So this will enable us to access this div from JavaScript and to also access it from the style sheets. So we'll start with the JavaScript. We need to create a function that we can call to display the time. So this is how we create that function. We say function, then we'll call this function display time. Of course you can call it anything you want. And in this function we need to have 4 variables. The first one is the hour. We're going to declare the variable hour. We're going to use the date class, and we're going to use the get hours method. This is going to return the current hours in our system time. So the next variable that we need to declare is minutes, and we're also going to use the date class for this and use the minutes method. The next variable that we need to declare is seconds. We're also going to use date class, and we're going to use the get seconds method. Now all of these methods are predefined methods that we can call upon. Now they're going to return the current time or the current system time. Now the last variable that we're going to declare is time. So we're going to join all 3 variables separated by a colon. Now the reason why we do this, we declare them separately, is later on in this tutorial we'll be wanting to manipulate these variables individually. If we declared them as one and joined them, we wouldn't be able to do such. So you'll understand later on when you start customizing our watch why we declared these variables individually. Now the last thing that we need to do in this function is we need to display it in this div. Display the current time in this div. And how we do that is we say document.get element by ID, and inside the brackets we need to enter the name of our div, and then we say dot inner text. This will allow us to change what's currently in the div tag, and then we're going to say it's equal to time. So it's going to display this time that we declared here. It's going to display it inside our div. It's going to remove this and place the current system time, and we need some sort of mechanism to call upon this function. So let's enter a button, and in this button we're going to display get time, and we need to call this function and this button. So when this button is clicked, it calls this method, which then displays the time in the div. So we're going to say on click, meaning that when this button is clicked, call this method, then this method is going to change the time in here. Let's go back to the browser, refresh, and now we have our button. And as soon as we click our button, we get the current system time. But now the problem is we need to keep on refreshing as to create this sort of animation. Now that's not something we want. So we need some sort of a function that's going to call this method rapidly and infinitely. So JavaScript comes with a function called setInterval. Now this function accepts two parameters. The first parameter is the name of the function that we want to call, which is display time in our case, and how frequently we want to call this method. Now it's in milliseconds, so I'm going to say 100. So it's going to call this function every 100 milliseconds. So since we have this, we can remove this button. We don't need it anymore. Let's save it, go back to the browser, refresh, and all of a sudden we have an animated watch. This is how easy it is. Now let's dive directly into styling this, because it doesn't really look like a watch. Go into the style tags, reference this div using its ID. So when you're referencing an ID, you say hash, you say watch, which is the name of that ID, and inside here we're going to start off by customizing the background. I'm going to say background, and then we're going to specify the color. We want it to be black, and the color of the text, we want it to be white. Let's expand the size of the div. We're going to say width, let's use 250 pixels. The height, let's say about 50 pixels. The font size, let's increase the font size, and let's say 38. And let's center align the text in the div. That is it. That should work. Let's go back to the browser, refresh, and we have a watch. So obviously you can do more to further customize this. You can use some style sheets to make it look wow. So thank you for watching our time tutorial part 1, and in part 2 we'll be going from this to that. See you in the next one.